ナモアミダ仏。ナモアミダ仏。ナモアミダ仏。ダマンダ仏。ダマンダ仏。ナモアミダ仏。ナモアミダ仏。ナモアミダ仏。ダマンダ仏。ダマンダ仏。
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to wait? You wait, bye-bye. You wait, bye-bye.
Today is today, yesterday is gone. Today is today, what day are you looking for? Today is today, from start to the end. Today is today, don't wait, just live my friend. The sun in the sky knows no other way. The gleam in your eyes says all there is to say. So wake up and stretch your heart, we'll take you there. Today is yours, point to the way. Today is today, tomorrow is now.
No man loves, no man loves, no man loves, no man loves. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. Dhamma saranam gacchami. I go to the Dharma for guidance. Sangam saranam gacchami. I go to the Sangha for guidance. No man loves, no man loves, no man loves. Welcome, everyone. My name is Grant Ikuta, and first of all, let me thank you for inviting me to your Hanamatsuri service. It is with great honor that I join you for this special service. And as you know, the Hanamatsuri service is a service in which we honor the memories or the birth of the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. Now, it was said that Siddhartha Gautama was born in 623 BC. That's a very, very long time ago. And he was born in a place called Lumbini, in a country called Nepal. Now, just to show you where all this is, I'm actually going to share with you on your screen where exactly is this. So first of all, in order for us to understand this, here is the Berkeley Buddhist Temple, okay? And I am actually in a place called Steveston, which is in a city called Richmond, BC, Canada. And that is just, if you go straight north of Berkeley, and you have to go through Oregon, so Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, and just above Seattle across the border is Vancouver. Now, the distance between Vancouver and Berkeley is approximately 950 miles. So if you got in your car and you drove from Berkeley and you drove past Portland and past Seattle up to Vancouver, it would take you a good full 2 days. Okay. So that's 950 miles between Berkeley and Vancouver. Incidentally, it's 375 miles if you go the other way from Berkeley to Los Angeles. Okay? So if you've ever been to Los Angeles, you know how far that is. Now, just to give you an idea of how far away is Lumbini from where the Buddha was born from Berkeley, it's roughly 8,000 miles. So to California, 375 miles. So it's over 20 times the distance to go to Los Angeles. So that would mean going to Los Angeles and back 10 times just to get to Lumbini. And to show you where the Lumbini is, you have to get on an airplane at the San Francisco International Airport, and you have to fly all the way across. I'm going to just make it a little smaller, so get there quicker. Get across the Pacific Ocean, You have to fly, continue, and it's 1 day, so it's a good 25, over 24 hours in an airplane. You have to fly over Japan, okay, fly over Korea, fly over China, and finally you'll get to a country called Nepal. There you land at the Kathmandu International Airport, and from there you have to go by vehicle, whether it be a car or a bus. But from there, it's another good day travel. So it takes you a good full 2 days by airplane, by bus, or whatever other transportation, 2 to 3 days to get there. And once finally you'll get to a place called Lumbini. And this is where the Buddha was born, Lumbini. Okay, so he was born in this very far place in a long, long time ago. So when you hear those fairy tales that start off once upon a time, long, long time ago in a distant land, well, this is indeed the case with the birth of the Buddha. So it is said, according to the legend, that prior to the Buddha being born, his father and his mother, they lived in a kingdom called Kapilavastu. And his father was the king, King Suddhodana, and his mother, Queen Maya. And for many, many years, the royal couple didn't have any children. And of course, they always wanted an heir to the throne. And it is said that one evening, Queen Maya had a vision or a dream of a white elephant with 6 tusks entering her right side. And soon after that, it was said that she became pregnant with the new baby. And as was the tradition during those days, when somebody is about to give birth, they return back to their ancestral home where her parents were. And they would normally give birth by her own parents. So it was on the way from Kapilavastu to her ancestral home where Queen Maya and her entourage, her attendants, they all were going to her ancestral home, and they stopped at this beautiful garden called Lumbini to take a rest. And it was said that there is where Siddhartha, the young prince, was born. He would, of course, later go on to become the historical Buddha. And it is said that when Siddhartha was born, it was almost, well, one could say it was like a miracle. So the birth of the Buddha, of course, we have Siddhartha here. This is just an animation or cartoon of it. And it was said that when the Buddha was born, he immediately stood up and he took 7 steps, and he pointed his right finger to the sky and his left finger to the earth, and he said, "Above and below the heavens, I alone am the world honored one. Above and below the heavens, I alone am the world honored one." Now you might think, that's quite a miracle. Have you ever heard of anybody standing up right after birth, walking 7 steps, and then talking? Of course, we would all say, we've never heard or seen such a sight. But this is what the legends say. And according to our teachers, what's important is not whether this actually happened or not, but what does this story tell us? So let's think about that for a bit. Okay? It is said that the Buddha, when he stood up and he walked and took 7 steps, this was a symbol. It symbolizes in the Buddha's teachings, we have what we call 6 realms of suffering. There's 6 different layers, if you will, of suffering, realms, existence. And the 7th realm, which is beyond the suffering, is the realm of enlightenment. And that's why the 7 steps signifies that this young prince will then become the Buddha who will go on to attain enlightenment. So that was the meaning of that. Now, the pointing to the sky and the earth and saying, I alone, or above and below the heavens, I alone am the world honored one. Now, according to the scholars and teachers, they will claim that this is actually the crying voice of each and every single baby as they are born into this earth. This is the voice of Unga as the baby comes out. And why this is understood to be as such, it is saying the Buddha is telling us that for each and every one of us, this life, my life, this is the only life that I know. And therefore, it is the most precious life of all. So, for the Buddha, of course, his life was the most precious one. But for each of us, we have to think that this life that I've received is the most precious life. And so we must live to our fullest. So this is a picture, as I said, of Lumbini's garden. And in fact, today, Lumbini's garden looks like this. They actually built a temple, and there's a pool by it where it was said that Queen Maya bathed before she gave birth to the Buddha. I actually went there in the year 2000, and they still hadn't built this temple at that time. And so there was just the pool that existed. And they were under construction when we went. There was a group of us from Canada that visited the site. So annually, hundreds of thousands of people will take a pilgrimage to go and visit the various sites that the Buddha was at. And Lumbini is one of the main sites that people will go and visit. And why is it that here we are on the other side of the earth, and 2,650 years later, why is it that we still honor this Buddha or the birth of this individual? Why is it that we hold these special services? And it is because what the Buddha had taught us. The Buddha is the one that showed us the way, the path to understanding the true oneness of life. The Buddha was showing us how we are all interconnected as one. So even though today I am here in Steveston, Canada, I am together with you in the service. And so as we come together for Hanamatsuri, it is a time, again, for us to reflect on the oneness that we share with all life. And out of gratitude for helping us understand this, for teaching us this very noble teaching, we put our hands together in Gasho to express our gratitude to Shakyamuni Buddha, the historical Buddha, and also, of course, for us in Jodo Shinshu, we emphasize Amida Buddha. And so we put our hands together. And at this time, if I can ask you again, please join me as we put our hands together to say, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Hanamatsuri. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for inviting me to the 2021 Berkeley Buddhist Temple Hanamatsuri service. I'd like to thank Kyo Sensei for inviting me. And I'd like to begin my adult Dharma talk by reading a passage from the teachings of the Buddha. This is a very common or familiar practice, phrase to all of you, and it comes from the homages or Kikyomo. Hard it is to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult it is to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear them. If we do not gain emancipation in this present life, how may we be free from sorrow in the ocean of births and deaths? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Since I just spoke in the Dharma school class or session about the meaning of Hanamatsuri, and I'm sure that you're all very familiar with the meaning of Hanamatsuri, I'm going to just abbreviate that portion of it for the adult service. Of course, Hanamatsuri is the service in which we commemorate the birth of the baby Buddha. And it is truly a wonderful celebration that we have gathered here for this afternoon or this morning. Now, in celebrating Hanamatsuri, we will have this, what we call the Hanamido, the small shrine with the image or this statue of the standing baby Buddha. And normally we pour the sweet tea over it and also offer flowers. So for today's talk, I'm going to actually talk about the meaning of offertory. The meaning of offertory. And what I'd like to do is teach you very quickly 2 Japanese characters, okay? And the first one I'm going to teach you is one that looks like this. Okay, there's the character there, okay? And we say for the offerings in Japanese, we say osonae, osonae. Usually there's characters O and A at the end of this one. So osonae, sonae is this character here, okay? Offertory. Offertory, okay? Now, I'm going to come back to this afterwards, but just remember that what we do is we make offerings to the baby Buddha, flowers, sweet tea, but in general, in our altars, we also make offertories. We make offerings of flowers, incense is an offering, the candles are an offering, and also, usually at the center of our altar, we have a main offering, and that is usually this. If you can take a look at this. This is what we call the obuppan, or Buddha rice, okay? Now, what I wanted to talk about was this rice, obuppan, and why it's so important to us when we make this offering. So particularly in East Asia, rice is offered, and rice is considered a sacred food in Asia. It is the staple food in the diet that we eat. And when you write the character for rice, and I'm going to just do that right now, just bear with me for a second. It looks like this. This is the character for rice, okay? Now, growing up, my mother always used to scold me when I left some rice in the bowl at dinner time, because she often would say that for every grain of rice to come to our kitchen table, it has to go through 88 sets of hands. And I couldn't understand when I was growing up what she was talking about. But later I found out that that character for rice, it can actually be broken down into 3 parts, like that. The 2 dots on top, the cross, and 2 dots on the bottom. And this actually is the character for 88. 8, 10, 8. So 88. 88. And what this signifies is that it is emblematic of the interdependence of life. So for every single grain to get to my table, it's gone through 88 sets of hands. 88 people have been involved in bringing that 1 grain of rice to my table. So this is a sign of interdependence, showing us how we are all interconnected. The other thing about rice, particularly white rice, is that it is something that goes with anything. So often when we have meals, we will have what we call the okazu, the main meal, but we always have the rice with it. So Japanese in particular, where we want to have our white rice to go along with our main meal, right? It complements the main meal. Here in Richmond, we're well known as being one of the primary Chinese gatherings in North America. We have one of the largest, if you will. Our whole city is basically almost like a Chinatown. 60% of our population is of Chinese descent. So there are many, many very good Chinese restaurants here in Richmond. And often after a memorial service, this is pre-pandemic, of course, we would have go out afterwards, and often we would go to Chinese meals. And when you go out for the Chinese meals, often they will serve fried rice at the end of the meals, but not during the meals. But for us Nikkei, most of the families, they'll always ask, can we have some steamed rice with the meal, right? And that's because this rice complements all the okazu, the delicacies that we eat. And the reason why I'm saying all this is that this rice is like the Buddha Dharma. So in life, we have many ups and downs. We'll go through many good things as well as very sad things. But throughout all the ups and downs in life, the Buddha Dharma complements it, just like this rice. It's always there. And if we can understand and appreciate that, it becomes the anchor in our life. It gives us balance within our life, just like the rice gives balance to the meal, right? And so going back again to this word that I originally showed, osonai, right? This character, interestingly enough, can also be read as tomo, which means companion. So the offerings that we are giving, the offertories that we're giving, is showing our companionship. So when we make the offering to the baby Buddha of flour and sweet tea, we are saying, we are together with you. We are one with you. And we are expressing our heart's desire to be one with the Buddha. And so the offerings in the onaijin are the same thing. When we make that offering, we are saying, my heart is one with the Buddha. And of course, that's what onembutsu actually means, to have the Buddha in our heart right now. And so when we come together and we make these offerings, the most important offering that we're giving is our heart. By giving this physical offerings, we are pledging our heart to the Buddha. We are saying, I take refuge in the Buddha, and I take refuge in the Dharma, and I take refuge in the Sangha. So by making these offerings, it is our way of expressing gratitude towards the Buddha and to the Dharma and the Sangha. So I, again, thank you for inviting me to the Hana Matsuri service. And I know my talk wasn't directly about Hana Matsuri per se, but about the offerings that we give to the baby Buddha at Hana Matsuri, as well as the offerings that we give to our own Aijin. So at this time, I'd like to close my Dharma talk by asking you to please join me in Gasho as we recite the name of the Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. And incidentally, if you wish to have those characters explained, I'm sure Kyo Sensei would be more than happy to do so. So go up to him and ask him, can you write rice and can you write osanae, and have him explain it to you again. Thank you.